helpful. I have another example I can share if we have time.
Yes, please do.
Okay. All right, let's do one more. There we go. Okay, so let me just move this over here a little bit. Okay, so here is another one. This was a real enlightening discovery for me. So when I was writing my Bible study, Hagar, Rediscovering the God Who Sees Me, Hagar is kind of, her and her son Ishmael are one of those characters that before I started studying her stories had sort of this kind of this dark cloud over them, like people, know how to deal with them, and being that I'm descended from Ishmael through my father, I was very curious on, what I could learn from her story, but mostly the beauty of how God sees this young woman who's, through no fault of her own is put in a very precarious situation. So what I want to focus on is just one word in one verse. There is a prophecy spoken over by the angel of the Lord to Hagar after she runs away. She's pregnant, she's distressed. She had been used by Abraham and Sarah to produce a child. And she's and so her and Sarah have a kind of a conflict, no shock there. And so she runs away, and the angel of the Lord meets her, and he speaks this prophecy over her regarding her son that has often been viewed as very negative. And I was curious. I thought, well, let me start with the blank slate. Let's look at the original language and see, what we can learn. And so again, we're using the exegetical guide in Logos. But first, just real quick in the just to give a little perspective, sorry. One of the things that he tells her is what her son will be named. And the name is Ishmael. And this means, and it's right here for us in case you don't want to, you don't have to even look it up, but Logos provides it. It means God hears. And this is, and it says why, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. So right from the beginning, we see actually a tenderness on God's heart, naming her own son, God hears because he has heard your affliction. So there already is a positive aspect to this prophecy to begin with regarding his name. But then it gets to this part, which has always been kind of a strange, not a strange, but it seems to be that if anyone remembers anything about Ishmael, it's this whole verse of he will be a wild donkey of a man. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what does this mean exactly? And so in English, we look at this and we see, a wild donkey. We interpret this as, we see we visualize the animal, and then we have this concept in our mind of wildness, or just this kind of aggressive, something along that lines, and it has sort of a negative connotation. We just can't help it in English. That's what we're hearing. However, when you actually take a look at the language, we go down here, we discover the first thing, let's just move it a little bit farther over here. This whole word right here, wild donkey. Notice there's nothing in the Hebrew for the word wild. It's one word in Hebrew. So this whole wild donkey is one word, pere, in Hebrew. So looking at it a little bit further, we go into the exegetical guide, and we see right here, one word. And the first thing we discover, it's a noun. Okay, now that sounds simple enough, but think about it. We're looking at this as an adjective. We're interpreting it in our English minds as an adjective. There's no adjective here. It is simply a noun. And what this means is, and actually this version of Logos even provides it right here. When I was doing this originally, this aspect of the sense was is newer, and it's fantastic. But originally it wasn't right in the exegetical guide. Now it's right there for you, and it's basically telling you that it's a donkey that lives in the wild. That's all it means.
Wow, big difference.
I'm sorry.
It's a big difference.
It's a huge difference, and it's going to affect how you interpret that verse. And so it's very, very important, just this single one word, to correct our mindset on what's happening here, because there is no condemnation, there is no adjective. It's been simply saying that he's going to be like here's a great way I explain it in one of my teaching videos for the Bible study. In English, we hear of horses and wild horses. And in our mind, we understand the difference. Horses, horses, and then we have this odd concept of wild horses. And the only difference between the two animals, completely the same DNA, is the wild ones are free.
Right.
And that's the key. Freedom. You see, Hagar's a slave. And so for her to have this prophecy from the angel of the Lord that her son is going to be he's going to be free. It's just like I said, we're just basically just touching the surface. I'm going to go ahead and put the stop share on here. But we're just touching the surface on these concepts, and they provide such richness and helpfulness in our understanding of what's happening in these verses.
And Shadia, thank you for sharing that. That's so helpful, because I was talking about, people saying, hey, I'll just read it. And again, that's a great start. But if you just kind of read it on the surface, like that passage you just shared, the context of that can be totally lost, like you said, based on English. And it is a totally different meaning. And so thank you for sharing that and showing how easy it is to understand those types of concepts with logos. Now,